What's up, everybody? Welcome to System Crafters Live. I'm David Wilson, and we're back again. Well, it's not System Crafters Live. Sorry, I just launched right into it and step all over my words. This is Crafter Hours. This is the series of streams where we start working on a project that's in progress and discuss some interesting programming things. A little bit different than the usual Friday stream where we get together as a community and talk about whatever topic I've come up with. Well, this time we're actually working on code, so that makes me happy because I enjoy working on code, and I think we'll have a good time today. Let's see. I see Cal in the chat in the IRC side. I don't really see other people. I think that it's kind of a slow day, and people are probably busy with their Monday morning work stuff, which makes sense because it's Monday, and everybody has to get caught up after the weekend. But we'll still, proceed with the plan and do the best we can. And if I could think of a third thing that rhymed with that, I would say it, but it's still early for me, so we'll do the best we can. All right, so today we are going to get back into the emacsPackages.com project. You can see the repo up on the screen right now. That's on Codeberg. Basically, it's a project where we intend to make a single website where you can go and see all of the available Emacs packages across the various Emacs package repositories from ELPA, MELPA, etc., as well as plain Git repositories and places like Geeks and maybe Nix in the future. We'll see if we start adding all those as well. But the goal is to have a centralized location where people can learn about the Emacs packages and also see suggestions for packages that might be interesting to them, get tips for packages, maybe example configurations, etc. And the purpose of building this is not for Emacs. It's actually to try to build a real-world Guile scheme application and show the whole process of how it gets done. So that's what we're doing today. We're continuing on with the project we've started, and we're going to do something really important, which is to work on a kind of a minimal framework for applying database schema changes, because we're about to do our first deployment of the site to a real server. Now, it's not going to be like the real site live for people to go use. It's going to be a staging deployment where people can go play around with it, but it won't be the real thing yet. But to do that, we need to be able to change the database that's on the server after we have deployed it. So we can't just recreate the database every time. If people will start creating accounts on the website, we don't want to delete their accounts every time we want to make a change to the database. So there's a net split. Uh-oh. Everything good on the stream, at least? Okay, so I see that Trev is somewhere. I did see that, yeah, okay, Trev showed up in the chat. I wonder if I need to reconnect the live stream chat. Somebody say something in the chat. Let's see if it reconnected. Anyway, where was I? Yes, we don't want to have to delete the database on the website every time we make a schema change. So we're going to need some kind of framework in place to, there we go. I see Trev saying Cowboy Baggins. Okay, whatever that means. Anytime we want to deploy a new feature to the site that requires database change, we're going to have to update the database somehow. So we need a plan in place for how to do that without having to recreate the database every time. Now, this is not some new idea. Pretty much every production website has to deal with this somehow, and there's few different ways to do it. But we're going to use a strategy which effectively just encodes the changes to a database as a series of sort of atomic changes over time, where we have the new SQL expressions or statements that have to be executed for a given update to the schema. and then maybe some arbitrary code that could be executed alongside that to do any kind of manipulation of the data or migrating of existing data over to like new columns or new tables, etc. So the goal will be to just come up with something really simple that can work for our purposes, and then that will enable us to potentially in the future deploy the website. Well, I'm hoping maybe later this week we deploy the site, but if not this week, it'll be next week. So we'll deploy the site, and then anytime we add new features that require database changes, we'll be able to apply them using this framework. So that's sort of the goal for today. Hello to Thomas on the YouTube side, and also to Schema, who I saw join on the. Oh, maybe Shom didn't join. Maybe it was just a result of the net split. Hey, Shom, even though you're not here. All right. So let's see. Let's go over to the notes from last time. Let me just make sure my screen's good. Cool. So this is Monday, February, because I can't speak or spell or type. Good Lord, it's not really getting off to a good start. February. Goodness. This is what day? The 17th? Okay, 17th of 2025. And we're going to try to create... So I was calling it database migrations. And I was talking to my wife about this, and she knows some things about these database things. And she was saying that it's not really called database migrations, even though I've heard it called database migrations elsewhere. But when I looked it up myself, it turns out that people are mostly calling it schema updates, even live schema updates, things like that. So I'm not going to call it database migrations, even though it is called that in some places. I just want to make sure that the terminology is accurate enough that I don't get ridiculed by all the people who might watch this recording in the future. So create a DB schema upgrade framework. We want to call it upgrade update. Update framework. Okay. So yeah, and I had a list of migrations that I wanted to add. Create a table to store applied migrations. All right. So that's kind of where we're at with that. Is we're going to try to create a little framework for this. We're also going to try to write unit tests to verify that the framework works. We'll see how well that goes, but since we're using SQLite, that won't be too hard because it's easy to just create a throwaway database on the file system and and try all of it out. So it should be pretty achievable to do that. So I think we can get started. We didn't have any pull requests since the last stream, so we don't have to spend any time on that this morning, which is fine. But if you're interested in contributing to the project, please do. I know there's a couple of hanging pull requests there that, excuse me, haven't been merged or closed yet. I need to get back to those folks and sort of maybe give my feedback directly on the PRs, because I've been giving the feedback on the stream, but it's likely that they didn't see it. So let me just go do that at some point. I'm very sorry. I'm still dealing with the fallout from all the viruses that are going around in our area these days. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to tempt the viruses to come and attack me fully, but I will say that it hasn't been as bad as I thought. Gus says, when do you think you'll get sick again? I'm sick constantly, dude. It's just that time of year. It's the way it goes. I think you know that because you've experienced it as well. All right. So let's get into the code. Let's see here. We're in the project. We're going to go to the db.sem file. Now, what I thought would be useful for this would be to create a record type. DB schema update. It kind of, DB migration sounds so much clearer and cleaner. But we just say like DB update. We'll call it that for the moment. So make DB update. God, can I type update? Now, we need a, let's say an ID, but it's kind of going to be like a timestamp. So let's call it ID. And then queries. I don't know if you would really call it queries. And then also there would be maybe an arbitrary set of operations that would be involved here. So DB update, then ID, DB update ID, queries, DB update queries, and then operations, DB update operations. All right, so that should be enough. Let me actually, well, no, we can do this with plain geyser. So let's just do it with plain geyser. Things won't be set up right without the site. So I changed my mind. Let's run the site. Geeks, shell, manifest, source, start, server. Come on now. I don't like how Geeks tries to, what? Oops, scripts. Yeah, I think the same thing, Thomas. Feeker says, are you going to work on DDL, such as database migration? What is DDL? I don't know what DDL stands for. Data description language? Oh, maybe I'm already running the site somewhere else. Proced. Oh, there's 3 ANSI terms. No wonder. All right, let's quit out of this one. Whatever. Whoop. Get out of that one as well. And then go back to the original. I'm going to restart it, though, because I want to make sure we're in a clean state. Okay. So we got the site running. I'll go back into this code and then run geyser connect. And we are back in. Now we can start evaluating expressions. So I'll eval this record type. Yeah, is there a better name? The DB update? Upgrade. Database schema migration. Schema migration, database migration. The management of version controlled, incremental, and sometimes reversible changes to relational database schemas. I mean, it is kind of a migration, right? Should I just call it a migration and be done with it? Managing, applying changes to a database structural framework or schema. Okay, screw it. Here we go. Update, migration. Boom, there we go. Now it's updated. So, DB migrate up. That could be the command. Schema update. Yeah, it's getting too long because then you're encoding the type name into all of the accessors of everything. So, all right, here we go. So, how would we write this out? I don't really want to belabor the point, let's say. Yeah, rollback. I don't know if I'd end up rolling back because I don't exactly know how I would do it unless I was writing the code to do rollbacks as well. Writing the schema updates, let's say. To do rollbacks. I'm not going to go that far yet. We're not going to make a fully fledged solution for all this. It's not really the goal. This is something to get it started for us. So, define migrations. Make DB migration. ID. So I'm thinking of making the ID something like 2025-02-17. And it could also be the time to 09-52, right? So like an ID like that. Then the list of queries would be something like, you know, alter packages. Let's see, SQLite alter table. Come on, give me some examples here so I can actually see what it looks like. Alter table, existing table. So not rename. Add column. Real good here. So foo was it text? This is just fake, okay? So fake table. Just coming up with examples here. Now, maybe this needs to be done a little bit differently. Question would be, do you want to co-locate the string along with any set of expressions or expression that needs to be executed on it? So for instance, let's see. So we're going to go with the most basic way to do this possible, and then we're going to clean up the syntax a bit. We might even use a syntax to make this clearer, but we'll see. So for operations, it would be like a lambda DB, and then you'd be able to run whatever query you wanted in there. So let's see. David says Rails had a good syntax for migrations. I should probably take a look at it, but I want to kind of just think about it on my own for a second first, and then we'll go look at the sort of prior art, let's call it. Setup, teardown. Because I just like thinking about things. All right. Whole thing was designed to be processed in transactions. Yeah, might be a good idea to look into as well. So I'm thinking of just like an example to use here. Maybe you would want to look at every row and synthesize a value coming from some other column, potentially. Let's look at package.sem. I mean, something that looks good for Scheme. I don't know. There could be something. All right, so let's see. We've got arguments. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I should be doing this as like a test file as well, so. I think the best way to structure tests for this project. Sometimes it's good to have the test folder path mirror the actual module path of the project, but maybe that's not a good idea for this. Also, let's see. Running the test files. So it was Surfy, Guile Surfy 64, I believe. Sure. When the tests are inline, yeah, it's not so easy to do in Scheme. I guess it could be. I mean, you could do like a cond expand potentially. Use tests modules pattern. Let's see. There needs to be a way to specify features. So cond expand. Oh, okay. So these are the ones that Guile is providing. Other certain feature symbols are defined once our code has been loaded with used modules, since only then are their bindings available. Question is, how do you define one? Okay, so the reason why I'm looking at this is to see if there's a way I could co-locate the tests with the actual project code. And one way to do that is to use cond expand. Or some kind of environment variable or something to cause it to be triggered. But let's just be simple for now and not do anything too wacky. So let me actually close this file out. I'm going to run test. This will also be part of the load path. That won't work, will it? Actually, it will work. I guess it doesn't matter, does it? Just be db test. Okay, so site db. And then back in our db.scm, we can take this migrations list here and then go put it. In fact, let's open them side by side, go into the test file, paste this in. And then we wanted to look at this code here. I want to try to make a function that can do that kind of table column migration of information in there. Give me 1 second. Okay. Where's your monster at? I don't know. Did you buy one? I have mine. I don't know about you. Okay. We don't need all this stuff. What we do need is a prepared statement. Don't really need a result. Don't need to bind any arguments either. Maybe we don't need to prepare the statement because we don't have arguments to bind. So we're trying to query. So, okay, we're going to make a fake schema. So let's just think about the fake schema for a second. So test schema. Table foo. Or should we mirror what's going on in the real schema just to make it seem a little bit more real? I don't know if we should do that, but probably should at least exercise the different things that we would want to see. So I guess that would be things to test. Adding column, possibly with data migration, removing column. Adding a table, dropping table. I mean, we don't really need to test those because it's more database stuff, but some of these make sense. What else? There's, oh, changing column type. But I guess changing a column type, well, you would do that. Or would you do that? Because that kind of implies you would have to have created a new column of the new type and then migrate the data over to it. So is that not just the same as adding a column with a data migration? Is there ever a case where you would change the type of a column and it would just work? I kind of doubt it. Unless you're like upgrading an integer type to a bigger type. Bigger integer type. Which I don't even know if that's possible. Because I'm not really a database expert, as you can tell. So let's see. So just to test these specific things. Cal says just eat instant coffee out of the jar like the rest of us. I don't know, that sounds kind of gross. So table foo. Well, also, the whole process of creating the base tables and migrating over time. Because that's sort of the situation we're in. We're going to deploy with a schema. Whenever we deploy, that's the first version. That's sort of the first deployed schema. And then from that point forward, we're adding things to it or removing things from it, but progressively. David says, no change in column types that requires some swapping around. Also, you want migrations to be reversible. Peter says, is it assumed that IDs are monotonically increasing to assure applying migrations in order? Yes. The strategy is just to use the date and time as an integer. Like this, 2025, 0217, 0952. Just because a human can understand when that is. It's not like a Unix timestamp. So a human can understand the order of these as well as where the information comes from. And then they can be applied in order. And in reality, what's going to happen is the DB will have a table about containing the migrations IDs that have been applied. That way, we know what state the current database that we're looking at is in. I don't know if databases already have a feature for that, but I mean, it's pretty easy just to make your own table to do it. So we need a table for migrations also. You want migrations to be reversible? Do I though? I mean, I know that ideally you would be able to roll something back if it went wrong. I don't know if I need that right now, but do people typically use that? Is it needed often enough that it would be worthwhile to add it? All right. So, yeah, I kind of feel like we need to join the Kite says, normally migration should be reversible. You can just make the user write the to and from commands and you're good to go. Peter says, I often implemented two-way migrations, but I never actually use it, or maybe once or twice. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a thing that it would be nice to have if things go really wrong, but I'm not going to worry about it right now, probably. So let's see, make DB migration. Yeah, things get tricky when data is involved. Trev says, I've seen a rollback once or twice on bad releases. Yeah. Rollback instead of downgrade. Would it not be the same to sort of fix forward? Like if you had a problem that was bad enough, you could sort of, do another migration to move it back, or would that just be insane to do? Just so that the series of changes is sort of part of the history of the migrations. Yeah, Peter says, I would not consider it part of an MVP or minimal library. Yeah, me either. Definitely something for later if needed. And then when you need it, you're screaming because you don't have it. That's usually how things go. Okay, anyway. So I'm thinking... what I've done here is I've created a separated list of queries and operations, but I kind of feel like it needs to be paired together. Or maybe just there's one migration. Trev says, I figure we would just fully wipe and rebuild, not for this, because we're gonna have user accounts and stuff. We can't just delete all the extra metadata that we have. I mean, sure, we could, but I don't think it would be a very nice thing to do. Everybody go and recreate your accounts on the site because we just deleted the database. Peter says, if you have good semantic versioning discipline, a later version of the schema in the database will seldom cause issue with an older version of the app. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you got to treat your database schema in the same way you would treat an API, because you don't want to have breaking changes. So anything that you do that is new needs to be additive and not disrupt the existing code as much as possible until the old code has been deprecated, and then you can finally remove the old columns or tables or whatever is necessary. Okay, so I'm thinking about this for a second here. Maybe this should not be a list. Maybe that should just be a plain old string. Do people ever run multiple alters or queries as part of one migration? I mean, I guess you probably would, to consider it like one transaction. So maybe I would need to have it be a list. Then after the fact, there could just be one lambda that goes and does stuff. I'll just put this as true. So this could be a list of strings. So instead of operations, it could be like a action. I don't know. It's kind of a lame name for it, but let's see. Unbound variable DB migration. Oh, right. I didn't export those. I kind of want to name it something different too. I know it's a little unorthodox, but I could do that. I can call the constructor whatever I want. And that's, oh. Trev says this is probably where we can just have a SQL file and load it in. Maybe. Peter says, I often do multiple DDL statements in a migration as I like to keep all steps related to a change together. It often occurs that you add multiple tables or columns as part of a logical change. Yeah, and you probably want to do that as part of an overall transaction as well, even though I haven't really done much with that yet. Why is it giving me a problem here? Wrong type to apply. Oh, the record type. Okay, so we got a little bit of a conflict with the name. I could probably... There we go. So that actually did it. So the migrations will have 1 DB migration. Call it something a little bit different. Okay, so now we have 1 entry for that. Peter says the industry kind of settled on a list of sorted files in a folder, or I settled on libs doing it that way. Yeah, but do people normally have like code that will go do fix up stuff after the fact, or can that just be done in further queries? I don't really know how advanced you can get with SQL. Beaker says, are you going to explore stuff like Lisp AI? It's quite interesting in my opinion. Or sorry, LSP AI. I don't know. Not really. I mean, I understand the point, but not really too interested in it myself. All right, let's see. So we got that. Let me remember how to set up the tests. Test begin. Peter says, I called during startup of the app the migration function of whatever lib I use. I thought about doing that too, but I didn't know if it would be like a problem to call it during startup. I mean, there's 2 ways to do it. One is, well, I guess there's 3 ways to do it. One is to do it as a script that you run kind of ad hoc. Another is if you are to build a Geeks configuration for the site, you could apply it as an activation step on the profile. And then 3 would be call it during app startup. And maybe there's other times to do it as well. Doing it during app startup certainly would be the easiest way to do it. But I don't know if there's any possible problems with doing that. All right, test begin. What does it count for? Match the number of test cases. Y. Ah. With cleanup. All right. So test group.
Peter says manual requires writing change documentation no one reads. Separate requires FAF and requires additional setup for development on and CI on startup and minimizes all that. Yeah, it is simpler for sure. I mean, and if the program is not starting because the DB migration is failing, then I guess you have logs immediately tell you that this is happening. So that could be a good thing. Also very useful for integration tests starting from an empty database. Yeah, that's kind of a good point. Because you can have it sort of build up over time. So they say you're supposed to be able to do expressions nested inside here. I haven't seen that yet, but maybe it does work. Let's see. Trev says you can just make the first migration be the DB base DB creation. Yeah, you definitely could do that. Maybe I should do that, actually. Okay. So test assert foo. Yes, dump the DDL of the prototype database in the initial migration. Cool. Well, we will do that. That'll be a good way to test all this out too. So test assert foo expected true false. I just want to see if this works. Test assert foo source expression failed to match any pattern. Why? This is a survey for unit testing, yeah. Suite name, decal or expression, ... Yeah. And what's the problem? Wrong argument, position 1, struct false. Suite name, declaration or expression. Well, what's your problem? Oh, hold on now. I mean, doesn't it look like that should work? Struct B table. All right, maybe I should just stop screwing around with that and do things the normal way. I wanted just to have one. You need test begin or test end or test, really? Test begin enters new test group. Well, I was trying to avoid that. I wanted to use test group as a way to have one top level expression that I could evaluate and not have to evaluate the whole file. And it seemed like this would be the way to do that. It's supposed to wrap it all, you see? Guile macro expand. Let's see what it's doing. Macro expand. Yikes. Yeah, it is a weird API. I think it's kind of like really old. All right, this is way too far. It's too far of a macro expansion. Test result A list. Struct set.
Wow, it's really getting down into like tree IL type stuff here. Looks like. All test end, I see. Const DB migrations, call, yeah, okay. Kind of a waste of time. Equivalent to executing the declaral or expressions within the named test group. Well, it doesn't appear to be working like that, so let's just skip that. Test begin, test end. And then Control C, Control B. Oh, okay. What? Hey, Daphne. Daphne says, I just emailed Alex Shin yesterday about making a better, less awkward Surfy for testing. Yeah. I think that there needs to be a better one. That's for sure. Because this one is pretty primitive. I mean, it gets the job done. It works, but it's definitely not as nice as ones that you see in other languages. Why has it got a problem here with these? Maybe I've confused it. Oh, it's because of this whole expression. My bad. But I think we will have to pull in SQLite anyway. Okay, no code for modules. Oh, SQLite 3, I believe. All right. And that's the other thing I don't like about it, is that when you run it in the REPL, it just gives you a record type back. And you have to go look at the log file to see what the actual output was. I mean, sure, you can look at pass count, fail count here, but it's not the best output. All right, fine. So, give me 1 second. I am going to take a 2-minute break, and I'm going to come back, and we're going to start writing some tests and get this thing started up. So give me 2 minutes. I'll be right back. Okay. So, now we're going to try to do this thing for real. So, like we were saying, we can initialize the database. trying to think of like the right way to verify. So how do we verify? How do we verify that a migration was successful in a unit test, let's say? At least for one that is like for initializing. For initializing the database. Well, I mean, number one, Daphne says it'll be based on the Chibi test library. That's cool. Chibi's got a lot of good stuff in it. I enjoyed using Chibi for a couple things. So it didn't throw an error. The guy says, I made the Chibi, sorry, the Surface 64 support for Chibi. So you're going backwards, okay. But Chibi test is better. I haven't used that one yet. All right, so it didn't throw an error. Can we query the tables? I guess we could query for tables, make sure it's there, make sure it has expected columns. SQLite query for table details. I'm pretty sure we saw that already. Create a table and select nothing from it. I guess you could, you know, make sure a select works. No. Describe table. That's a command though. It's not really a query. Pragma table info. Okay, you should get an empty result set if it exists and an error if not. Okay, that's probably good enough, right? I just kind of want to make sure that the expected stuff is there, but maybe it doesn't really matter. Maybe it's more of just like the table exists. All right. So first of all, I'm just going to write some code to try this out. So on migrations, we need to be able to apply the migrations. So back in the DB file, DB apply migrations, and even in this case, we do it like that, have it be in REST args. Then for each, migration, I think Peter just touched his YubiKey. Yeah, Trev saw it. I love it when it does that. You just touch the YubiKey by accident and just start spitting random character strings into whatever program you're in. That's the way it goes. That's the thing that I realized when I actually plugged one of those in to my own laptop, is that it starts doing things on your behalf. Okay. Feels very sorry. What to be sorry about? I don't know. Like, is that like a security issue? Okay, so migrations. So we need to execute the query. So let's go back to package. I always forget what I'm doing. SQLite. There's prepared statements. I mean, I guess I could throw a prepare in there. They're not parameterized, so I don't really know if I need prepare, but I'm using it pretty much everywhere. So anybody got a thought on that? Yep. That's what I had too. And I never really got around to using it, but the only benefit I got from it was that it would just start spitting things into my programs randomly. Trev says, my only thought is that we need a transaction so we can roll back in case the migration fails. SQLite transaction. So do I have to like put all of the queries together as part of the transaction in one whole string, or how does this work? Because I haven't done transactions with the SQLite before, or in general, let's say, because I'm a bad developer. First, open a transaction. Let's see. Issue SQL statements to select or update data in the database. Note the change is only visible to the current session. Third, commit the changes to the database by using the commit or commit transaction statement. All right, so we got some inserts here. Begin transaction and then a bunch of updates. All right. Let me see if there is. So Guile SQLite. That's not it. That's it. Did I not pull the code down locally? There it is. Let's see. I think it's in this file. Transaction. Doesn't really look like it though. Commit. Finalize. When statement is cached, this merely resets. Ensures caching actually works while still separating concerns. So SQLite exec. Evaluate the string SQL, which may contain one or several SQL statements into database. The result is unspecified. Okay, so in that case, what we can do and then that's just all the strings. So string join. We also want to format that along with, well, I could probably, let's begin, right? What was that? Begin transaction. It doesn't need to be new lines. Begin transaction and then DB migration queries. Migration. And probably I would want to, let's see, query. Oh, and I screwed that up. I need to do that. I need to flip this out. So string join. Forgot about the delimiter. Does it need to be, maybe it's this. How about that, right? Does that work? I'm going to take this whole thing right here. Drop that there instead. But I also want to log that. So log. Okay. That's going to be DB migration ID migration. Let's just drop that down another line and then query. That'll at least give us some information about whether it's running or not. Okay, log info. That's not right. Unless I didn't eval that. Okay, that's why I wasn't getting completions. Log dash debug info warn. I'm pretty sure info is the verbose version. So apply migrations. Go back into the DB test file. So there we go. DB apply. Oh, I didn't export that either, did I? Hey, Synchronos. Peter says, I'm getting allergic reactions if I see string ops and SQL in the same context. I hear you. Daphne says, you want it to only commit the transaction when control flow normally leaves a block. It will not return to somewhere in the middle. That's pretty hard. That's a good point, actually. You also don't want to commit when control flow leaves the block because of the early return due to an exception handler. Well, in this case, we're just sort of constructing an entire query string. So I don't really know if it matters for that. I could be wrong, though. I can be convinced otherwise. Oh, I never did add that, did I? Yeah, I did. DB apply migrations. There we go. We're going to open a database. I can make a function for that as well, just to... There we go. And then for the migrations, let's go down here, DB migration. Oh yeah, we should also make sure only the newest migrations are being executed. That's another part of this. We also need to make sure that the migration table gets created. So to do, ensure that migrations table exists or create it. Because that is kind of an important thing. And to do insert entry into migrations table, because we need to know that that migration completed and is in place. Now we also figure out which migrations have not yet been run. And the idea here is that sort the migrations table ascending, and then filter the migrations list. Peter says, I do not think it actually matters when using libsqlite in this way. SQLite will automatically create a transaction and close it after the last SQL statement. So you're saying that I don't really need to do that wrapping for the transaction? It would be nice if I didn't have to, but okay. That's sort of the other stuff that needs to be filled in. Okay. We can take that out and just sort of see what happens without it. It's not a multi-database. I'm not sure what that means. I can even just say this is migration 1, right? Just to be simple. And for the, yeah, let's see, create table foo. Let's just steal this. Okay. That's good enough. Maybe we should do a couple. I don't know. And we'll add some stuff to bar later, maybe. I don't like how this looks, but I would have to add some indentation hooks in Emacs to make it indent the way that it would look more appealing. I guess I could do it this way instead, which looks a little bit gross, but that's fine too. Bear says, wait, won't it cause partial migrations if one query fails since it will wrap each query individually? Does it wrap each query, or does, if you give it a full SQL string? The app only uses libsqlite and not DBI or some DB independent abstraction, so it's okay to rely on implementation details of SQLite for now. Later we might have to change that, but. All right, so what happens if I run this? Wrong number of arguments informed, DB migration 1. Oh, right. I forgot to put a procedure. You know, DB migration, maybe that needs to be a procedure. So let's go back into DB. Let's think about this for a minute. I'm gonna reverse where I started on this. We're gonna go back here. Needs define star. Actually, don't even need that. Guess it's fine. Okay, let's do it this way. So we're going to have the ID be a required parameter. And then any number of strings. So guile, define star. There we go. There's optional. Rest, okay. Peter's copying some docs. No reads or writes occur except within a transaction. Any command that accesses the database will automatically start a transaction if one is not already in effect. Automatically started transactions are committed when the last SQL statement finishes. Is that whenever you execute an arbitrary query string? Queries, and then action. Invalid argument in subform. I guess key comes first. Okay. Now the question is, can I go into the test file and do this a different way? Like, okay, it does seem to work. Queries, action, cool. That looks good. So at least this way it can be a bit clearer. Anyway, here's a YubiKey. All right. That looks a little bit better. And I mean, I guess we could do this from a file too if we wanted to at some point. But for now, let's just leave it this way. I'm going to try to execute that. Wrong type argument in position 2, expecting empty list, create table, foo, oh, right, I think, wait, what? Say it again. Expecting an empty list. Daphne's just hacksering everybody here. So why? Show me the backtrace. Where's the backtrace button? Debug menu, comma. Not show me any menu? Come on now. Peter says, I think adding transaction support is a bit of a luxury at this point. You're probably right. You're probably right. I mean, we can just do what we are doing right now. Just sort of insert it into the query string, which might be enough, but... wrong argument type position 2, expecting empty list. What the hell are we talking about right now? Is it this? Can't be that. It's not that. Yeah, comma BT would work, but it's not giving it to me in the... Okay. Something I'm doing in apply migrations is causing a problem. So lambda string join migration, DB migration queries migration. Let's just print out some stuff. Not even printed out, is it? DB migrations, DB, test DB open, migrations, DB migration. This is a REST list, so it should be a list. Why am I having to do this? Oh, append. My bad. What did I do wrong in append here? String join. Oh. Yeah, that should be a map, right? That should be a map. Okay, so I was right before. I think I had this set up correctly before. I screwed it up. String join should be on the outside. String join. And then append. Just like that. And like that. All right, I think that's the key. Now we're getting some logs print out. Unspecified as a result. So migrations, got that. Queries, create table foo, running DB migration 1, begin transaction, create table foo, create table bar, commit. And commit did not get a semicolon at the end. Peter says it's probably added for a production-ready library used by third parties, but as your own app support, it's more trouble than it's worth. Might as well remove the begin and commit and pretend we never saw it. Maybe that's fine. So how about I just, let's just get that out for now. How about that? Can I put an empty string at the end? Let's do that. Just to be cheeky. And we'll get rid of the other prints here. Get rid of that. And that. Let's see. Table foo already exists. That's cool. That's not a problem. And we do see that we got an error, so that's good. I should probably catch that and log it. But we'll deal with that in a minute. So before starting this, what should the key name be to say that we want to delete it? It should be true by default. Default, I think. Oops. Okay, that seems to have worked. Create table foo. All right, we've got semicolons after everything. That's good. If SQLite has create or alter, we don't really want that though. Okay, so that's a creation of 2 tables. That's good. So we've got that out of it. Don't really need that. Okay. So let's think about the other stuff that's needed. So let's check that the migrations table exists. Oh, I think that's maybe why Trev was talking about creator alter, or not. It says, I'm wishing we chose MongoDB for our startup. Why? I don't want to have to deal with MongoDB. SQLite's great for now. Let's see. If we can have a define create separate little procedure here. Not really necessary, but just so that it's clearer in this procedure. Create migrations table, or let's call that ensure. And let's see, guile catch error. And there's a thunk we have to call in. Let's see, is there a cleaner syntax for this? Okay. Here says, just serializing to a structured file is underrated. Yeah, I mean, that is definitely possible, but I guess you end up querying could be problematic. And I guess that's what SQLite's already doing, is just, it's putting things into a structured file that it knows how to query efficiently, and then putting a kind of a caching layer on top. So maybe it's better just to use that. Okay, with exception handler, log info error is, I'm just going to write this out because I don't know what they look like or what I need to be searching for. So let's just do that first. With exception handler, the thunk is lambda. We're going to run that and let that be. Querying a hash map is pretty snazzy too. Yeah, but then serializing that can be a problem. Okay, so ensure migrations table with DB. Let's just run it right here. Ensure migrations table. Oh, I did not export that either. I guess it would be good enough with just calling applied migrations. Let's just see what that does. Oh, did I reeval? Okay, I didn't reeval this one. Wrong number of arguments to ensure migrations table. Yep, that makes sense. Non-continuable. I guess I need to say unwind, right? Error non-continuable. There we go. Error is compound exception. Error SQLite exec. Message. No such table migrations. Okay. So we can see what's in there. Composed of exceptions. How can I look at what's in there? Well, let's just try that again. Compound exception components. All right, so is it just compound exception components? Is that what it is? Error, origin, message, irritants. Okay, so irritants, maybe I can do that, exception irritants. I need to pull in any library for this. Did I write that right? Exception, irritants, irritants. I see. Okay, there we go. So now if I go back and run this again, error is no such table migrations. Is that a string? True, okay, so I can just check that. I don't know if this is a bad idea to check just the error message, but that's what we're going to do for right now. What did it say? No such database? Wait, let's put it back. Hey, Glenn. Ah, right. No such table migrations. Got it. And then we should create, okay? Glenn says, did I miss much? I guess probably not too much. We're kind of getting there, but slowly. So SQLite exec db create table migrations ID integer. This is going to be a key as well. Integer primary key. And then I mean, what else do we need? We kind of just need the ID. Maybe we need a timestamp about when it was applied. So what was that? In the tips model, I think we have, yeah, creating the migration table as the 0th migration. Yeah, well, I mean, I think it needs to be sort of implicit to the framework because it's there. I suppose you're right, but still. Yeah, it would be implicit. Models tips, let's see. Yeah, there we go. Update time integer. All right, so. Okay, there we go. Migrations. Let's see. SQLite table special character name. I don't know. Kind of feel like. Oh, come on. Can I put like an underscore at the beginning of a table name? I feel like it should not be just a plain old migrations. Like underscore underscore migrations. Is that valid? I'm gonna have to make this a constant as well. Obviously. Unbalanced parentheses. Probably here. I think I should rethrow. So, schema version. That's the ID. Maybe I'm wrong about that though. If you have some thoughts on it. Raising. Raise exception object. Okay, so. Schema version. Okay, migration is a bit too generic, might cause conflicts. Yeah, that's why I want to use a special character. Sorry, something that makes it not so conflictable. Package table. It's a good point, Trev. Good point. Let's see if it works first. Okay, so it seems that it worked. It must have created the migrations table first. So now that we have ensured that the table exists, and also let's do this. I know this is a little bit dirty, but just to give us a little bit of flexibility. Format F. Yeah, we're going to change it. Okay, so that will give us we don't want to use map for this, but we do want to order. And also, I would say we want to select ID and applied time just specifically. I think using select star is risky. Peter imagines a bunch of Emacs packages on the telephone wire waiting to go south. Yeah. Let's see. Order by ID. Descending. SQLite order by. Yeah, order by descending, right? Okay. And that should tell us pretty fast But we need to deal with the rows. We need to get the rows back. Does that give us an array? Sorry. Got the step. Maybe at the step. Migrations table name. So if I go back to packages, SQLite step on statement. What about SQLite 3? Oh, is that a... I see. All right. Fold statement. Okay, interesting. Trying to decide the best way to use this. So I think we need a statement here. So the migrations lookup may need to be different. Oh, it's in this file. So ugly. Okay, so inside here, we're gonna have to do a little let loop. And we're gonna compile a list of, let me think about this for a second. What is the best way to do this? So, okay, so I'm trying to do two things at once here. Number one is I'm trying to get the list of migrations that are in the database. And two is I'm trying to filter out the list of migrations that have already been done. So, if I have the list of migrations in order in the code, and I have the list of migrations in order in the database, then I should be able to sort of just pop them off the front of the list as I walk through. Let's see. Filter applied migrations. Yeah, that's kind of sucks though. It kind of sucks. And this needs to be ascending in that case. Whoa. And we need to match on SQLite step statement. Let's just try to make this work, okay? So match on SQLite step statement. It's going to give us either a vector containing ID and applied time. Yeah. And if we get that, then if yeah, because all we really care about is, I mean, in theory, if nobody has inserted a new migration into the middle of the chain, then the set of migrations that are stored in the table should be the same. Peter says Go migrate only keeps one record in the table, the last migration applied, whether it was successful or not. Interesting. Yeah, I mean that is interesting. I guess the reason why I was keeping records for all of them is to show when they were applied. But does it even matter? I guess it doesn't really matter, does it? Because then all I would need to do is just loop all the way up to the one that hasn't been applied yet and then just return the rest. Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's just continue with the path we're going. Now the logic is becoming clearer to me. So, loop until we find a migration that doesn't match the record and return cdr of migrations. Okay, so that's sort of where we're headed right now. So if I'm trying to think of a way to do this without so if this is false, what happens? That means no migrations have been. Let's go to the base case. All right, one second. Base case is this is false because I think it returns no result. And if that's the case, then we need to return let's say unapplied. Yeah, so whatever comes after, whatever is unapplied at that point gets returned. Then as we're going through the list, we're getting records back. If it's not equal, I guess we're not worried about being perfectly tail recursive here. So if equal, if there's a record, it's either the same or it's not. If the ID is the same, then we pop it off the front of the list and we keep going down. So we say cdr of unapplied. Otherwise, if it's not the same, then we return it immediately. Or if we get to the end, we return the unapplied. So I think that's sort of the logic. Oh, but we need to save that though, so that we can do the finalize at the end. Feels kind of gross. Technically, I can set the migrations binding, but that feels pretty gross. Let's just call it result. I mean, why do I do it this way instead of... I guess I could just do it this way. All right. Unbound variable match, that's fine. Use module ice9 match. Come on. Come on. Okay, so filter applied migrations. Now, when we try to ensure the migrations table, yeah, I think we should just go back to what we had done before. So SQLite exec. I mean, we could put it all together basically, but don't really need to ensure it if we can. Oh, we want to create it first. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that needs tests. So maybe we can write some tests after we get this going and be able to see that it's working correctly. So now we've got migrations table name. Let's get rid of that. Wrong number of arguments. Yeah, you put D here, DB. Okay. All right, now. unspecified. Okay, so at least it doesn't seem to have done anything wrong. Now we can try to write some tests. All right, cool. Is there a... Let's see. Assert. Test passes if the result is true. If test is false, it's failure. Test error. Kind of error. If error type is left out, or if it's T, it means some kind of unspecified error should be signaled. What if I don't want it to throw an error? I just want it to run it. I guess test assert is probably good enough. So test assert. But I have to put T at the end, which is a little bit annoying. Do I need to begin here? Probably. Test begin missing? Yeah, fine. Let's see. Wrong type expecting string socket. What are you talking about? String append? What? Huh. Does test in not take a parameter? I don't know what that means. Suite name. Okay, so maybe I don't need the suite name in here. It appears that's the problem. Man, this is starting to get really annoying. Oh, that's a problem. Okay. Still give me errors that should not be there. Okay, that's fine. That's also fine. All right, so the test assert is working. The test end is not working for some reason. Expecting string socket. Doesn't make sense. Whatever. All right, so we got the initial table creation. That worked fine. Test assert. Let's see. What else do we want to do? And then we want another migration, DB migration 2. So alter table bar. Rename column. Add column. Yeah. So we can try to add the integer column. Okay. This is without deleting. Oh, this is with deleting the initial database. Migration table. Oh, I forgot to do that. Yeah, it's supposed to do that. Okay, so it did seem to run both migrations. It ran DB migration 1 and 2, and it did not seem to throw an error, so that must have worked. But we need another way to verify that we can actually select on that. So define assert query. Because basically all we're trying to do here is make sure that there's no error being thrown. So we can do something similar to what we did in DB, where we caught the exception with the exception handler. And here in the thunk, we're going to just run whatever the query is. And then if there's an exception, we're going to run the query and we're going to return true. And if there's an exception, we're just going to return false. I hope that works. In theory, it should. Okay, so assert query, and then here we're going to assert query. Select date from bar. That way, if the column is not actually there, it should throw an error. Whoops, what happened? There we go. Wrong number of arguments to assert query. Did I even evaluate the function? Gotta assert it on the DB. Sheesh. So I need the same DB object. I guess this could be a let. Seems that was fine. What if I do this though? Select foo from bar. Fail, creates initial tables. Okay, cool. So that does actually work the way that I expected to. If the query doesn't work at the end, then it will fail. So select date from bar. Cool. Peter says test begin will create a test runner if there's not one already. Then maybe funky, maybe. But if I run, well, I guess I am running it all in the REPL. If I ran it from the command line, it would probably work fine. At least that's my assumption, is it would work fine. Okay, so it seems the migrations are being executed in order. Let's see. What is the question then? Can I test only applies so maybe what I need to do is run db apply migrations twice. So here's what I'll do. So the first time I'm going to call it with the initialization migration, and the second time I'm going to call it with the initialization migration plus the additional one. In fact, let me just save that one too as a separate variable. And the way that we know that this is working, or at least the way I'm assuming we know it works, is that it will crash if it tries to create the initial tables twice. All right, let's see. Oh, yeah, I have not evaluated that yet. Fail. Yeah, it's trying to run it twice. We can actually see it in the output. The question is why? Can I run a query in the middle? Maybe I need to add some logging. To the filter apply migrations. Did I do that though? No, I never actually filtered them. In fact, I can just do that here. Like that. Get rid of this. Fail still. Only applies migration that hasn't been applied yet. Why did it not run? Was there a crash maybe in filter applied migrations? Let's try to write some logging code here. I don't see any output. Okay, before step, there we go. See that now. Never gets there. Interesting. Did I screw something up? Oh, I never insert the entry into the table. So that also makes sense. So SQLite exec. Insert into. All right, so we got the columns, the ID and applied time. Do I need to have a prepared query for this? Jeez. All right, so let's just do that then. lambda itself. We're getting there, Trev. We're getting there. That's on the inside of the let. And only if that succeeds should we continue with the... That doesn't make sense. That's the let. All right, matches to fine, good. Pre-filter migrations to find those that have not yet been applied. So what am I trying to do here? I'm trying to create a function for inserting. Define, did I say in the package models? Okay, yeah. Insert migration entry. And in here, we're gonna have to do a statement. Migrations need to be in order. Well, yes, still. Better to make sure we're not going to include anything in the list. All right, so we started writing, where am I? Prepare DB. And let's just take this whole expression here and drop it right there. Right into applied time. Values. And that's going to be ID. There we go. Okay. Oh, I still need the migrations table name. All right. So now we need to bind the arguments. ID, and then we're going to bind applied time. Current time, I believe it is. Go back into the tasks, tips, models. Yep. Okay. Okay, so then let's see, insert package tip, bind, then we got a step on it. We don't need to store the information, so we can just run step. That's for tips, packages. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so that should insert a migration entry. And that will take care of it here as well. Unbound variable ID is going to be DB migration ID migration. Unbalanced parens. Okay, we got that. Put in the same let scope too. Okay, so now if I go back, so now we're inserting the database, entry into the database. I think that's what we were missing before. That's the reason why the test didn't pass. Hey, Zerka. Fail still. There's probably an exception somewhere that we're not catching. So back into apply time from. Why isn't it throwing an exception? That's what I wonder. Can I just run this directly? Okay, near ID. Oh, I always screw this up. I don't put parens here. Again? Filter applied migrations. Near ID, syntax error. What is the deal? It's got to be in here with the select. Huh? Apply migrations. Prepare. Something weird is happening. For sure. Something really strange is happening. I put quotation marks somewhere? Because it's definitely this SQLite prepare statement. Hold up. Is that why? Let's change this to DB underscore migrations. I thought that was working. I could be wrong. Nope, still the same problem. Yeah, but that's it. It's this one. Select ID. It's in this filter applied migrations procedure. Without a doubt. Oh, did I screw this up? All right, so what if I change that select? Just take this out. Whoa, something else is going on here. Okay, maybe. Is it the order by? Can't be order by, can it? Yes, it can. Why didn't he tell me order by without the underscore? Can he just like be a little bit more specific about what the error problem is? There we go. Before query, before step. It looks like it did it right this time. Okay, so it's running DB migration 1, running DB migration 2. Let's go back and take the log lines out. See, that error is bad. It was near ID, but it could have parsed that correctly and told me something instead of just sending me on a wild goose chase. All right, so it did only send the second migration then on the second expression, which is good. Let's see, what else do we want to verify here? So we'll just kind of make this look like it's individual steps, okay? I mean, it's looking pretty decent, I think, for testing the database interactions. What else for now? Because we're at the end of the stream. We made some progress. Let's move our helper procedures around a little bit. Let's get this out of here. Got a couple things. Get rid of that too. So things to test. Adding column, possibly with data migration. We'll have to do that too. Maybe it could be done later. But the next thing would be to wire it all up. So maybe in the next stream, we can wire it all up to the way that database is currently being initialized. Adding column, removing column, adding table, dropping table. I mean, that's kind of mundane, I guess. Creating the database tables. Whoops, over time, make sure that only new migrations are being executed. I mean, we sort of verified that. Adding a table, removing a column, sure. I mean, this is all just whatever. Not really that interesting. So we'll have to think about what else would be interesting to see later. But I think for now, at least it does show that we have implemented something that works at a basic level. The only other thing we haven't done yet, let's see, Guile sort list. Sorting. Sort items less. The less is a comparator. Stable sort. We don't really need a stable sort because we would not assume that there would be two items with the same key. Oh, could be a list or a vector. Okay. I guess the assumption is that we would have it be in order anyway. So how would we apply this in practice then? What we had done before in the db init script So if we go to scripts, sync archives, there's a few DB functions that we're, yeah, create package tables, create user tables, create tips tables. So when we open the database, we don't necessarily want to have the opening of the database automatically apply migrations. We could do something like db ensure schema. Or update schema, let's say. Go to db.sem. Now we need to have a list of migrations, and I think the best way to do that would be to read them out of a module. Let's see, where would I put those? I mean, I could put them in this module too. I really don't want to. This would make it a circular reference though. Okay, screw that for now. But what we had before was effectively create package tables, create user tables, create tips tables. What we could do is just kind of go put all those together and see. Let's just see if we can get this done. I'm kind of curious to see if we could do it. So package.sem. So the init procedure we had here, create package tables. Let's get rid of that. I don't want to see that. So all these statements can now become migrations. I'm gonna work through lunch. No, I'm about to quit. I just gotta get this started. So we're gonna just massage all this a little bit to get it into the right form. Hopefully this is gonna work. So we'll delete those. Get rid of the parenthesis at the end of the lines. All right, so we got all the create statement, or all the create statements for the package stuff here. Next was what? The tips, packages, and user. Let's see how badly this just blows everything up. And then in tips, I believe I've got some stuff, so I can go up here and take both of these. Let's go back down to DB. And we got that, and then get rid of that. with this. Okay, and then we can delete both these procedures. So let's think for a second. Got rid of those create procedures, Control X, PG, create, package, table. Let's see if it's there anymore. Okay, cool. So that's gone now. So all this is, in theory, a list of migrations. It needs to be a list. Okay. Okay, so we got that defined. Okay, so that is the initial migration that could be applied right now, and we could go and put that in. So DB update schema, this needs to be public. I think it is already. Nope. So then we can go into that, what was it, sync? DB update schema, all right, so that's there. And then we can also go into the start server script and run a DB update schema. So that we automatically update the schema whenever we launch the database, or when we launch the server, okay? So we'll first need to delete the database to make sure that everything works. So if I go into the ANSI term, we're gonna remove the emaxpackages.db file, and then we can try to run the sync script. So let's try that. Let's just run sync archives. Possibly unbound variable migrations. Okay, so what did I do? I think in here I may have called it something else. DB migrations, okay. Okay, so it ran the DB migration. It seems like it did actually run all of the tables that we wanted to create. And it seems to be fetching the repositories. Let's see if it actually puts them in the database. Almost there. Take some time. We're just waiting. That's why we don't want to be fully syncing the repos that often, because it does take time. Okay, so it's, excuse me, finish the syncing. Now let's run the server and see if it doesn't actually, see if it tries to apply any migrations. So start server.sem. And it looks like it didn't try to run any migrations. We can go to localhost 8080 and the site loads up and we got the package listing, and that's all coming from the database. So that's cool. The site still thinks I'm logged in though, which is wrong because I'm not actually logged in. So what is it? Users/David. Yeah, it's a 404. Okay. And if we go back to what package was it we were adding tips to? I think we're going to Ace Window. Yeah, we got to be logged in and create a tip. Anyway, I think it worked. So we got the basic stuff in place to do database migrations, and we've applied our initial tables as the first migration. So this is something we'll be using going forward. We'll add new migrations anytime we want to add something new to the database. And I think it will work okay. We'll see. We'll see how it goes over time. I don't know. We may have to change some things about how it works, and we'll have to be very careful because we don't want to violate what's already been established in the database on the server. So probably next week, sorry, on Wednesday, we will, do we need to do more on this? I mean, there's a little bit more we could do on it, but maybe we can start trying to prepare the site for deployment. We can do a little bit of work with Geeks to try to prepare the site for deployment, get the Nginx front end set up, get everything packaged correctly so that we can run the site. Maybe also try to get the Let's Encrypt certificate set up correctly. So I think that we got a few things we could do on Wednesday. So I'm looking forward to getting that started. But anyway, we're out of time, so I'm gonna go ahead and call the stream here, but I will check in the code into the repository in just a moment and then update the notes so that you can see what we did during the stream and also contribute if you want to. So anyway, thanks everyone for being here today. Really appreciate your time and attention. Hope you had fun. And until next time, happy hacking. See ya.